Surprisingly, I'm using this way more than the VF4. In fact, I use this all the time.
Would you recommend assembling
the
machine yourself? Look at me when I say this. No, absolutely not.
I'm literally running 500, 700 inches a minute in aluminum. Sometimes like that would take, maybe a half hour to do a setup. This is literally taking a minute. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Becoming a Practical Machinist. My name is Kurtis Wolfinger, and this lovely lady is
Rebecca, and thanks for joining us for another episode. So we recently put out a question on Instagram saying, do you have any questions about the Tormach 1500MX? And as always, you guys sent us a lot of them in.
You guys delivered.
Yeah. You ready to get started?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right. Number one is, are you using the VF4 more or the Tormach more?
Surprisingly, I'm using this way more than the VF4. In fact, I use this all the time compared to the VF4.
I think we have to remember to turn on the VF4 to charge the batteries. So the number two is, how easy was it to learn to control? I think it's pretty damn easy. I would consider it to be kind of similar to like conversational programming because it's almost idiot proof. It lists everything out, and then if you have a question about what that control does or the button does, it pops up with a little box.
Go right up to whatever it is, and it gives you a full-on description of the buttons.
Yeah,
it's pretty neat.
I didn't really get a full rundown of how to use the controls.
No, but you handled yourself really well when I wasn't here.
Yeah, I ran an entire production run by myself, and I even had an error pop up, and I solved it by myself. So if that gives you any inclination of how easy it is.
Yeah.
All right, number three, dun dun dun. Would you recommend assembling the machine yourself? Look at me when I say this. No. Absolutely not. No.
Especially if you're a small shop or if you're by yourself and you are heavily doing the quoting, everything, all right? The chances of you getting this machine done
in a timely fashion,
in a day or a weekend,
or not developing an alcoholic problem, or going through a whole box of cigarettes,
or Christmas cakes.
I know it seems hilarious, but it really was the biggest pain in the ass. Just for like perspective, okay? You all have seen videos of like the VF4 being delivered and the Tormach being delivered. We have a pretty long driveway. I think we could probably fit about like 11, 12 cars, front to forward in our thing. And then our garage is like 1,000 square feet, right?
Yeah, between the 3 days.
So we had a good amount of space to put everything, but there was so much stuff that came in crates and boxes. It started to look like IKEA in here, and it was incredibly overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
When you're trying to unpack stuff and figure out where it goes and what it assembles with and then make space to put its stuff together.
It's daunting.
You lose your mind.
Yeah.
And that was just the part of, the stuff being everywhere. Now, putting it together is not a one-person job by any means.
Nope.
You need to have at least 2 to 3 people, ideally.
Yep.
It takes minimum multiple days if everything goes correctly. And I don't know. I would not recommend it to anybody. I say pay the extra money, whatever it costs, and just put it together.
Yeah.
Have them put it together and send it in one piece.
And not only that, if you get the robot over here, like I would say get the robot when you purchase the machine, because when you buy it, you have to take the actual door off the side. That's usually a window right here to put this extension on for the auto door to be mounted with the robot, so you have to do double the work yourself.
And something to keep in mind is when you're putting this together, you're using Sikaflex. Yes. By the time we put the robot on, that shit already cured, and it was like peeling concrete apart.
Yep.
And it was not very fun. So It's just like if you're planning to get the robot, do it all in one go.
Yes.
Really plan it out.
And get it pre-assembled.
Yeah, pre-assembled, all in one thing. All the features and benefits that you want. One time.
Yes.
All right. What is the tightest tolerance you have held so far? It's actually a good one.
Oh, yes. I've actually, just recently, I had to do some aerospace parts, aircraft parts. And I had to hold within about 5/10. And it stayed consistent through the 10 parts that I had to do.
Yeah.
So once I had it dialed in, ran through them, didn't have to touch it.
What is your experience with the BT30 taper on this machine? Any tool size or rigidity issues that you've run into?
Honestly, this being the first BT30 I've ever used, I've always done with the Cat 40s. I've ran a 1/2 inch end mill in this thing, and I haven't really had much of an issue. The only thing I notice, with it being the 4 horsepower spindle, you have to compensate for the power difference.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But no issues with rigidity or chatter or anything like that?
Chatter wise, no. Like I use a 1/2 inch 3-flute finisher, for all the aluminum parts I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That
thing's like 2-inch length of cut. So, and it leaves beautiful mirror finishes.
Yeah. I remember the first time I seen the BT30 tool holder, and I was like, oh, it's so dainty.
Yes.
It's just like holding a little cigar almost.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what the next one is. Looking back, would you have still bought your VF4 or started with a new machine? Excellent question.
Yes, honestly, with how fast this thing is, so easy to be set up, ran, and with the probing and everything, I would have totally gone with this route. All right, because the older machine, granted, she is what she is. She's done her job. But speed-wise and efficiency-wise, this takes cake.
We are hands down more competitive with our pricing, our lead times, and we're doing parts a lot faster. Even though it's a
Way
less
faster.
horsepower machine, she smokes that VF4 hands down every single day.
Yeah. Like I utilize the speeds and feeds in this thing, like the 1200 inch per minute speeds and feeds. I mean, rapids and feeds on this thing, dude. I'm literally running 500, 700 inches a minute in aluminum.
Now, I know some of y'all are going to be like, when I say this about the probing, be like, oh, you can be fast with probing, without probing. But yes, you're right. Okay, there's nothing wrong with not having a probing machine. But when you are doing very critical parts for either aerospace or firearms like we are, it is really nice to have that extra layer of insurance with the probing, and we program in redundant programming that's doing like in between the ops and everything like that. It is so nice to have that just security safety net of making sure everything is coming out perfect in spec every single time. And also, we're not having stands there like we did the VF4 and babysit everything and touch off every single size, especially when you flip over to Op 2 and try to cake off the hat or something. And at the end of the day, guys, seconds turn into minutes and minutes turn into hours. And when you're trying to be competitive in this industry, that stuff adds up and to your bottom line. Yeah,
and plus, like she was just mentioning about the more times we have to stay at the machine and monitor it, that's less time I'm at that computer doing quotes
or anything else in the machine
bringing
shop.
More money into the shop.
Yeah.
So
I think a lot of people forget that when you're running a shop, it's not just standing here machining; it's everything else.
Shipping, receiving, procurement, everything.
Paperwork. Lots and lots of paperwork.
So much paperwork.
And trips to the gas station for snackies.
Gotta have snackies.
All right. After owning it for a while, what are some things that you wish were different about it? Yes, different about it. For me, I really hate the door. I don't know if I can get it to recreate. Of course, it's not going to do it. Normally what happens is it's got like a safety feature on there where you have to push the button to unlock it. And sometimes it gets hung up where it's not, I don't know how to describe it. There's not enough pressure evenly at the top and the bottom so it doesn't think that you're pressing the button. And there's times where I'm just like yanking on that son of a bitch trying to get it to open.
Yeah.
Because when you come from the VF4, it doesn't have any of that safety stuff on it, so you can just open and close it with ease.
Yeah.
That is something you have to get used to. I don't like it.
Yeah, the VF4, you can also put it into like a door override and when it does have a safety switch, so it bypasses that.
What's something you think wish was different on it?
Me, I wish for the tool setter, you can only touch off in Z on the tool setter. I wish you would be able to actually touch off diametrically for toolings like end mills, and like chamfer mills, or if you have like a face mill, like for here, over there, I wouldn't be able to do it, period. Regardless, I would have to, take a wild guess. It's a 1/2 inch end mill, take the first cut, then measure it, then have to do my offset. If you were able to, do a diametric, touch off like they do in newer machines nowadays, it would already calculate that for you for wear.
Yeah.
Before you even touch the first part.
Another thing that bothers me is the wiring situation.
So as you can see, it's a little bit of a hodgepodge of a bunch of wiring, but I've zip tied what I could of things together and tuck them up in places between air lines and electrical. But yeah, It's a lot everywhere.
It doesn't feel very well thought out and organized. It's just kind of chaos back there. And I can only imagine how dirty and grimy it's going to be in a couple years with, obviously coolant and the mist in the air and stuff like that. It's just, think of just like the VF4, the Haas or something, or generally the back of any type of CNC machine. It's got an entire cabinet where you're not seeing any machine or wires and stuff picking out. It's not like that with this one, and I think that's something that should be a priority for them to improve.
Yeah, like try to make, bundles, air lines, electrical lines, all put together and quick connects. Be really cool.
Yeah. Okay, this one is it handling job shop or production work well? Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. We are doing a lot of production runs for aerospace and firearms again, and I wish we could show the parts because they're coming out beautiful. NDA work, of course, so we can't show anything. Maybe we could just take a picture, put like the blurred out over top and be like, oh, give her privacy. You can't see her, she's naked. But yeah, she's handling it, and that's again why we're using this machine over the VF4 is because it's consistent. It's holding the tolerance is really good, and the probing is just that extra layer of insulation, so we are not
way faster on setups.
Yeah, we're not wasting material or screwing anything up. It's just fast. Super fast all around.
Yeah, sometimes like that would take, maybe a half hour to do a setup. This is literally taking minutes. So.
What materials have you cut so far in it? So far, we've done a lot of the 6061 aluminum, and we did a lot of tool steel. Or is it
4140?
Yeah. Okay.
I always do.
Yeah, and then we are going to be doing the torture testing coming up. But when it came to the steel, it did fine. The finishes were beautiful.
Yeah, we've also done the excavator exhaust covers. That was 1018, and they looked mirror finish on the walls.
Didn't we do copper part 2?
Not in this one. That was the Haas.
Okay, yeah. But I mean, majority of the work that comes through is usually those alloys, and we're doing okay.
Oh yeah, the 4140, this thing had no problem running it. That job I was having an issue with the quality of carbide.
Yeah.
That I was getting from a vendor.
Yeah. Which upgrades or add-ons do you think are absolutely worth getting with the machine? And then let's just start with the machine. What add-on would you get? And then what add-on, what would you get from the start?
Right off the bat, one thing that I like about this machine is the through spindle coolant. All right. Having that feature is like amazing. For drilling, you're not having to actually peck or anything. You get the right carbide drill through spindle coolant.
For the love of God, make sure you buy a sealed collet because the internet will come through you. We have sealed collets now. It's just they didn't arrive that day when we were running it. And they're like, what is wrong with y'all? It's like, it's just one of those things. It just takes a while for shipping to come sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, but we got sealed collets now, just so you guys know.
The internet can relax. It's all good now.
Yes. Thank you for the education.
Yes. Keyboard warriors initiate. And then something getting from the start. Obviously, we said you're going to get the robot, get it from the start so you don't have to rip the entire side off the machine and battle that and then put it together.
Heck, you could start with the robot, placing the robot first and then the machine and then, assembling it that way.
Yeah. And I think, isn't the probe an add-on feature? Technically.
Yeah, that's an add-on feature too.
Get that because I think that should just become the minimum standard in all CNC machines at this point. Get it, you're not going to regret it. It's again that extra layer of protection that your parts are going to come out crisp,
fast.
Perfect. What do you think of the chip conveyor so far?
The chip conveyor, I like it. It's been phenomenal for me, like being able to set the timer. It's just like the VF4, but that being an auger. Mm-hmm. The way that's designed with the holes draining down into the return, like the chips will actually gather on top of the holes, will flood the inside of that machine. But the awesome design about this, I really like this. All right, I know I sound fanatic, but the actual chip chutes that go out the back, they're not restricted. So everything, coolant, chips, everything goes out the back. It's a very big gaping hole. All right.
That's what she said.
But going out onto the conveyor, so you can't flood the inside of this machine, which is a nice change in life.
Yeah. Well, let's see. What pallet or 0-point system are you using?
Oh, I'm using the Shunk Vero S. It's the NSE 90 Mini 2.
Yeah.
So it's like the 2-puck system that I use for the duty clips.
We like it. It's doing a really good job.
Yeah.
Has your electric bill gone up since using single phase? I don't think so, actually.
In fact, I think it's gone down because we went from like $400 down to like
$300 to $400. It's hard to tell.
$250, $300 now.
We live in North Carolina and we got air conditioning going on all the time.
Yeah.
But even when we were running the rotary phase converter, we never really would go above 400. I don't think it was always like 300 to 400, like you said. But with this, I think we've been consistently below 300.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's really not taking up very much amperage or cost at all whatsoever.
If anything, it's been cheaper.
Yeah, which is surprising. I know a lot of people worry about, is it going to make your bill go up because, it's electric single phase. Do you like the through spindle coolant? I think that's a pretty obvious.
I already answered that one.
Why don't you tell me again how you really feel?
I really like it. It's a game changer in that whole machining process.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay. Do I have to use Tormach specific vices? No, you do not. You can pretty much use anything you want, but the added benefit of using the actual Tormach vices is they have like a railing system. It keeps it more sleek the way that you can tighten it down. Yeah, it's more an embedded rail system to be able to actually, put it in. I mean, I have one vise in the VF4 that's like that, but the other ones are like flanged, so they like stick out. It takes up more table space. This is actually a pretty compact design. I like it. How was it delivered and how tall it is? So it came in an enclosed box truck and they took it out. It came in a crate and they took it out with a forklift, dropped it down. And then for us, because we have a low door, I think we have 7 feet?
7 foot
beautiful
door.
1970s garage, 7-foot garage doors with the header in. So as soon as we took off the pallet and everything, we scooted it in and it came in just fine.
Mm-hmm.
I think on the pallet, it was like, just over 7 feet? It was like 7 foot, 8 inches, something like that.
I know when they brought it through that doorway, they had no problem. In fact, there was space.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, what you should know about the delivery part is it comes in the box truck. It's not as big as the delivery is not as intense as it is like having a VF4 on the back of a flatbed trailer, and they have like all these forklifts and stuff they need to take off with it.
Yeah, because this goes right on a pallet jack.
Yeah.
All right, and it's really wheeled this thing in, aligned it to where I had the taped off on the floor, and then just dropped it, leveled it.
Yeah. So pretty easy. It's not very complicated whatsoever. The only thing you need to keep in mind is if you're not paying that money to get it pre-assembled, you need to have space for all those crates. And I'm talking crates upon crates upon crates. You are going to be living in IKEA and you're going to be regretting your life. Is it louder or quieter than your Haas? Quieter.
Way quieter. The Haas is a gearbox spindle, so she whines. It sounds like a supercharger when that thing's even doing 7,000 RPM. All right, this thing the Haas you can hear from the house.
Yeah. In
the shop running, but the Tormach you can't hear it outside the door. So it's really nice.
Yeah, so that's something to consider if you are starting your machine shop in like a residential area and you want to try to skirt under the guidelines and be quiet for your neighbors don't get upset with you. Probably a really good option for y'all.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. So overall, what has been our experience? I would say pretty solid.
Very solid.
Production-wise, the way it's running and everything, fantastic. No complaints whatsoever. It is blowing our other machine out of the water. We're consistently faster, better quality, everything. And a lot of people complain about, the horsepower of it, the fact that it's single phase or it's got BT30. Truly not been an issue whatsoever in terms of handling production and job shop work. It is holding its own.
Yes.
The biggest pain in the ass again, the installation and putting it together.
Yes.
And then the wiring. Fix the wiring, please.
But yeah, it's been a trooper.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that concludes all the questions on this sheet. And of course, guys, if you ever have anything that you want to know, you can either drop it in the comment section here on the YouTube page, or feel free to reach out to us on Instagram. We're pretty active on there and we'll be happy to help y'all out.
Yeah. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Becoming a Practical Machinist, and we will catch you next time. Bye,
Take it easy.